Hello, this is Paul Gregg for our third session of the Mathematics of Wealth. Today we'll cover buying a house and credit cards. Think about your town. Think about all the businesses, all the buildings, all the property out there. Somebody owns every one of those. Some person or group of people own everything. We say corporations own everything, but people own corporations. So everything in your town, everything you see that is owned by people, every house, every business, every farm is owned by somebody. Somebody worked, somebody saved, somebody sacrificed to own every one of those. It could have been someone's parents or someone's grandparents, but somebody sacrificed and saved to own that. And you should be able to do it too. And I think you can. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier, but those who really want to can do it. Back to our napkin. The one thing that it's probably acceptable to go into debt for is a house. And sometimes if you're going to get a really good college degree and you know it's going to be a good return on your financial investment, you might get a student loan if you're going to medical school or something where you know you're going to get a financial return. And we'll cover college later. I think it's a lot better to pay as much as you can as you go, and if you have to get it, a loan for some portion of it, but it has to be a degree that you know there's going to be a financial return on it. So, but a house is something that you probably need. Most people go into debt for. It'd be great if you could just if you could save up and pay for a house, but you have to pay rent at the same time, and so it's a good thing. And the tax laws favor someone who is paying interest on a house, and so there's some extra considerations for going into a debt for a house. This is kind of wordy, but I'll go through it quickly. Rent is when you make someone else's house payment. You're making someone else rich, and if you can avoid paying rent by living at home until you get a down payment, then you're good. It's good to do that. Most times you try to have a 20% down payment, and nowadays houses are expensive, and that is difficult to do. But if you don't do that, you have to pay an extra 1% of the loan amount as mortgage insurance. People who've saved and people who own houses and land, they want to, if bank's going to loan you money to live in a house, they want you to have some skin in the game. They want you to have something that you could lose. And so the bigger down payment you can have, the more they know you're not going to just abandon the loan. Because if you abandon the loan, they get the house back. And so you're out a lot of money. And so they want someone who they feel like has a proven record of trust and has some amount of money in the thing that they could lose if they don't continue to perform, continue to pay. It's hard to save a down payment, live at home, or live with a bunch of people and save everything you can, and be disciplined about that, and keep your goal in mind. You know, if your goal is just to have a good time and party, if that's a bigger goal to you than getting a house someday and having that stability, and then you get what you deserve, I guess. I don't know. I'm not saying it's difficult to get a house, but people do it all the time. Look at this. People have done it forever. People do it all the time. People build houses, they remodel houses, they move into houses, they make them better. You can do it too. One big advantage to buying a home is the tax deductions, and just take my word for it, things turn out better for homeowners. The laws favor homeowners. one thing is that on a fixed rate mortgage, so you borrow money, a big pot of money for 30 years, that payment stays the same. You always want to get a fixed rate payment. They have them that the payments can change, and so you don't know what you're going to pay in the future. But I think a fixed rate mortgage is good because that payment stays the same. So your income, as you get raises over 30 years, your income goes up. So the payment actually gets easier to pay because it stays the same. And when you pay it off in 30 years, if you're still working, and you probably will be, that your income goes way up at that time. If you have to buy into a house at a higher interest rate, that's hard to do. But interest rates go up and down over time, and you can refinance that and get a lower interest rate. But you do have to pay fees for doing that. They call them points. Another big advantage is the home is an asset that will always be worth something, and it will generally increase in value. Homes have almost always increased in value over time, better than just about anything. And so you can also learn to fix up your home. You can improve it. You can maintain it. You can add on to it. You can, and there's a lot of information on YouTube to help you do this nowadays. So you can learn to fix up your home. I know a lot of people who make more money fixing up their home than they do working. And once you get used to it, and it's kind of fun to do, and you have projects, and you can make a lot of money fixing up your home. And maybe in a few years you sell it and take that money and put it into a new home, a better home, and fix that one up too. You never want to buy the best home on a block. You want a block that has really good homes, and you want to buy the worst home on that block and then improve it. Your neighbors will love you, and you'll make a lot of money doing that too. Homes do come with property taxes that are always there, and other costs, repairs, utilities, insurance. So our calculator.net has a nice calculator about a mortgage calculator, and that means you're trying to buy a home. The home price I'm putting here is $400,000. That's about average across the United States right now in 2024. 20% down payment. Now you had to have saved $80,000 in order to do this properly, and now there are ways. If you don't have that much, they will charge you 1% higher interest or something. So you have to make that decision. Most terms are 30 years now. There are 40-year loans. People are living longer, and they feel like they can do that, and they have a lower payment. But try to stay with 30 years because it's really nice if you're 25 and you have this 30-year loan and you pay it off when you're 55. Then it's kind of nice to have that extra before you retire, some years to save a lot of money. Interest rate right now is 7%, which is kind of high, and look for that to come down. Property taxes are generally 1.2% of home insurance. Your home has to be insured, and so you calculate this, put all this in here, and whenever you're thinking about buying a home, you come to this calculator, put this in, and then you'll see your monthly payment is $2,135. And generally, you want that to be no more than a third of your income. Some people go up to 40% nowadays, but generally you want to. A general good rule is a third to 35% to 40% of your income goes to your housing. If it's more than that, you can really get buried because you can have no money for anything else, for saving or anything like that. So there's the mortgage payment for this $400,000 house. You're going to end up, if you go full term with it, you're going to end up paying $769,000 for it. But that's the cost of using somebody else's money. And there's it all broken down in a pie chart: principal and interest. House price $40,000. You had to borrow $320,000. So if you're 18, if you're to 20, you want to start saving for this down payment, And a home is a good place to put money because it's real estate. It always has value. So, extra house payments. Once you start making this house payment, it seems like a lot at first, and after a few years, your income goes up. You get raises, and instead of spending that money, very much of that money, you ought to think about paying extra payments. Oh, when you get a loan, make sure that you don't have a penalty for making extra payments, and that's an important thing nowadays. So, this is a calculator. Let's say I had $250,000 home on 30 years, and I've been paying for 10 years on it, so I have 10 years remaining, and the interest rate is 6%. But I think now my income's gone up, and I can pay $500 a month extra. So instead of $1,500 a month, which was my original payment, I'm going to pay $2,000 a month. And what is the effect of that? It's quite amazing. You actually, instead of 20 years to pay it off, you take 7 years and 7 months earlier. It'll be paid off in 12 years and 5 months instead of 20 years. And you save $63,000 in interest by doing that. So this is a calculator that you could help once you have a house and you want to, and if it's possible to make extra payments. You want to, in general, if you're in any debts you have, you want to take care of them. And because, remember, go back to the napkin, it's a lot better to be gaining interest than paying interest. The one place you probably can pay interest and borrow money is a house because it pays off. So, one of the best things you can do is rent part of your house, especially when you're starting out. We did this. All of my relatives do this. If you can have a mother-in-law apartment and have a separate apartment. Some places are zoned for single-family dwelling, but nowadays nobody can tell you what a family really is. So you could have a person living in your basement if they had a place to cook or something like that. And HOA, sometimes they won't let you do that, but basically, if you're making $2,000 a month mortgage payments and someone can give you some portion of that as rent, it really helps you out a lot. Just amazing boost, especially because you're doing it early on. And so if you can rent part of your house out, that also solves our housing problem. And it's a great financial boost to anyone who can do it. It is kind of a pain sometimes, you kind of live in, maybe you share the same laundry room or something, and there's noise, houses aren't noise insulated between floors very well sometimes. And so, yeah, anytime you rent to somebody, it comes with a certain amount of hassle, but the financial benefits are really great. Let's talk about credit cards. You should never buy something you can't afford. The idea of, I just talked about buying a house, with the exception of a house. But if you can't afford to go on a vacation, you really, I don't know how you could sleep at night on a vacation knowing you haven't paid for it, or you don't have the money to pay for it. So my advice is to use a credit card for convenience only. There's other reasons to have a credit card. It's nice. People take the credit card. It's better than dealing with cash. But you should always pay off your credit card balance. If you spend $1,000 this month, you should have $1,000, or know that you're going to have $1,000 that you can pay that off, because the credit card companies charge a very high rate of interest. And the average credit card rate's 21% right now. So it'd be like saying, I'll give you $100 if a year from now you give me $121, and that's not a good deal at all. Okay. It says household debt is at an all-time high. 2.7 people per household, and they owe $8,000 in credit card debt, and they're being charged 21% on that. So yearly, if you hold a credit card balance of $8,000 at 21%, that's $1,685 you're paying to the credit card company to use their money. You pay that, and you don't get anything for that. It's like giving them money. So here's a link to calculator.net, and it will tell you how much you're really paying. If you have a credit card balance of $8,000, interest rate of 21%, in 5 years and 11 months, you can pay that off, and the total interest you'll pay is $6,000. So just be aware, you can, if you have credit card debt, you can use this tool to figure out how much you can pay, and try to pay that off as quickly as possible, because that's really a bad idea to have credit card debt. There is an added benefit to a credit card that you can earn points for miles and or cash back, something like that. You can take a look into that. The other good thing about a credit card is that when you go to buy a house, so when you're 18 and you get out of high school, you may get some credit card applications. You should research these and see if you like ones that let you travel, or see which one. You're not going to pay a high interest rate if you never spend money that you don't have. But if you have the irony of there's a thing called a credit score, and you can get a lower interest rate on loans for your house if you have a high credit score. And the way to get a high credit score is to let the people who are lending money, let the bank know that you are a person they can lend money to, and you'll pay them back reliably. And the only way to do that is to get a credit card and pay them back every month. And you want to get a credit card, and you want to have that, you never cancel that credit card, even though if you never use it, because if you've had a credit card for a long time, it improves your credit score, and you get, you can borrow money for your house at a lower interest rate. And so this is how they use to determine your credit card, your payment history. Basically, if they know that you can manage a credit card and make the payments and not be late on the payments, never be late on a payment, because it can affect your credit score. So that's a good reason for getting a credit card, even though you should never be tempted to use it if you can't pay it off. And that's all I was going to talk about today in this session number 3. Next time, we'll talk about college and taxes. Thanks for listening.